Hello everybody, welcome to a video that most of you are going to turn off. Yes, that's right, it's Pathfinder Adventure Card Game on Tabletop Simulator. Now if you can't think of any, and I'm soloing it, so if you can't think of anything more boring, then please feel free to turn it off. Otherwise, go on the journey with me. Now, a couple of things to mention. First of all, I am using my awesome Steam controller. I've got it all set up. You can't actually see the overlay. Maybe you can if I do that. No, you can't. Okay, never mind. But whatever. Yeah. So I've got my Steam controller. I'm using that. I use it quite often for this game. Actually, it's really, really good. So what is this? Right, Tabletop Simulator is a game on Steam that you can get, and you can play virtually anything. Let me just show you what you can do. Load game, maybe? No. Anyway, whatever. You've got anything. So it comes preloaded with things like drafts and chess and things like that. You can flip the table, all sorts of things, and it's the equivalent of sitting around a table and playing board games. People have uploaded assets like this card game, and many other board games as well. Actually. I'm not sure of the legal standpoint on board games, but my brother and I actually own this Pathfinder Adventure Card Game. It's just that we both live hundreds of miles away from each other, and this is the only way we can really play it, apart from at Christmas when we meet up. So that's why we play this. It, as I say, it's we do own this game, so it's not like we're just cheating and pirating a board game. So anyway, we started playing this game at Christmas together, and we enjoyed it so much that we wanted to carry on. It's a very long game. Essentially what you do, you have a character like this one here. This is my secondary character, Kyra, a female human cleric of Sarenrae. It's kind of based around the ideas of Pathfinder, the regular D&D role-playing, tabletop game. Magnify. Oh, right, that's what HUD is. Okay, I see. So every time I press anything, it comes up telling me what I've done. Lock. Okay, I'm not going to do that. That's annoying. How do I turn that off? Turn off the controller HUD. There we go. And what you do with this game is you have these characters. You can play solo, as I say, or you can have up to, I believe, 6 players. Is that right? Yeah, 6 players. And, with those 6 players, you can work your way through adventures. Now, the box we've got is Rise of the Runelords, as you can see at the top there. Rise of the Runelords. We're on an Adventure Path B. We also have Adventure Path 1, which we will be doing. Adventure Path B is the base set, so we will get another Adventure Path at some point, but Adventure Paths are made up of, as you can see, just sort of barely, 6 adventures. The first adventure is Burnt Offerings. So there you go, that's the adventure we're on. Let me just magnify that a little bit, that's a bit small. There we go. I like the magnify to be nice and big. So, Burnt Offerings, that's the adventure we're on, which is the first part of the Adventure Path. And the scenario, that each adventure is made up of about 5 scenarios. So there you go. You've got 5 scenarios there. The first one being Attack on Sandpoint, which is this scenario. And luckily it doesn't go down any further. Well, I suppose it does. Each scenario has a villain. So the villain in this case, as you can see on the card there, that's that goblin and his, whatever the hell that thing is he's riding. So that's Ripnugget, the goblin, and Stickfoot, the sort of skinless dog, or whatever the hell that is. That's what we've got to fight against. I'll read you some of the flavour text so you know roughly where we are. But my brother and I are actually at the moment on Approach to Thistletop, which is the 4th scenario in the first adventure. However, this game works a bit differently from other board games. You play each of these scenarios, but then at the end of each scenario, you've got a few more cards. You've got a few more like bits of items, bits of armour, weapons, spells, equipment, allies, blessings, all those sorts of things. In fact, you can see them all there. Weapons, spells, armours, items, allies, and blessings. And what you have is you sort of, as you encounter those things, you get to add them to your deck sometimes. So you get more and more powerful the more scenarios you go on, the more places you explore. Now, your character persists between each of these scenarios. So once I finished scenario 1, which is attack on Sandpoint, I'd move to the next scenario, which is local heroes. With the same character, any extra things I've picked up, and as you can see at the bottom of here, for example, the reward for completing this scenario is each character gains a skill feat. Okay? Skill feats are anything on this page, or anything on this card. Okay? So that's powers, and that's cards. This is skills, so this is a skill feat. So what I will do when I finish this scenario, is I'll get to tick one of those boxes, and that just makes me a little bit stronger in strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So those are all my stats, and that'll help me when I'm rolling lots of dice. So, for example, if I rolled that, and I got a 5, and I was rolling, let's say, for my strength, that was a D6, so that's a 6-sided dice, which is the one I rolled. I got 5, but I get to add 1 to it because I have that box ticked. So as you see, as I go through the game collecting more and more of those boxes, I'll get stronger and stronger, and your character persists. Now, why am I doing a secondary character? Well, that's because in this game, death is permanent. So you could get all the way through loads and loads and loads of adventures and scenarios, and then your character dies, and that's it. They go back into the game box, or in this case, the character sack, and that's it. They're done. You can't carry on playing with them, and that's obviously a pain. that sucks. And because my brother and I are playing together, if just one of us dies, that means that I would have to start a new character, but I'd be woefully under-equipped. I wouldn't have any of these boxes ticked. I wouldn't have loads of cool items in here. I'd just have basic stuff, and that's a big problem. So what my brother and I are doing by ourselves is soloing our way through adventures and scenarios we've already played. So just in case the unimaginable happens and our character dies, we've got a secondary character in tow ready to, jump in. So we don't have to sort of spend loads of time with one of us waiting for the other to catch up. I hope that makes sense. My throat's getting quite dry. I'm just going to be drinking quite a lot in this. Okay. So I've been talking about this for nearly 8 minutes. Let's start. That's why I'm playing this, essentially. And as I say, I've played through the base scenarios, which is a single adventure consisting of 3 scenarios. And that was just a sort of introductory thing to the game. So I've managed to gain a skill feat like that, as you can see. So I've gone up in strength. I've got a couple of extra good items and things like that should help me. And I'm about to start on this. So, I may as well get started. First of all, I am this one. I am Kyra. I'm a female human cleric. So, what the number of cards you have sort of says a lot about what sort of person you are. So, you can see it's the left-hand column of numbers. So there you go. Again, if I get a card feat as a reward for winning a scenario, I'll be able to hold 3 weapons instead of 2, for example, because I'll get to tick that box. But at the moment, I haven't got any unlocked, so I get to hold 2 weapons, 3 spells, 2 armor, 1 item, 1 ally, and 6 blessings. And they are all in there. I've shuffled all of those up. Shuffle them all again. Everything has to be shuffled. So that's my hand. And I sort of know what's in there, but I don't know what order it's going to come out in. My hand size is 5, so I will at any one point be allowed to have at least 5 items sitting here at the end of a go. But anyway, yeah, so to explain more about who I am, I've got 2 weapons. So yeah, I do use weapons. I've got 3 spells, right? So I'm a spellcaster as well. Armor, yeah, a couple. That makes sense if I'm going to have weapons and I'm going to be doing fighting. Items and allies, no, I'm not a very sort of utility character. I seem to be more focused on the fighting and indeed the healing, as you'll see. And blessings 6. So I'm clearly quite divine. And as you can see on this card here, if you go down to Wiz, which is a D12, so obviously that means that's a 12-sided dice, which means I get to roll much, much higher than if I was rolling, say, a D4. I've got the opportunity to roll between 1 and 12 rather than 1 and 4. And divine is +2. So anything I roll that's a divine check would be a D12. So whatever there is I roll on that, let's say it's a 6. +2, that gives me 8. So I'm very high in divine, and my strength, or rather melee, is quite good as well. But I'll explain more as we get on to that. I'm also proficient with light armor and heavy armor, and I have a couple of different powers, which I'll explain as we go on. But anyway, that gives you an idea of what sort of person I am. So here are all the cards that are in the game box, as it were. So these are sort of like the pools. What I've done is, on the back of this card, if I flip that over, you can see it says, for players 1, 1, 1, that's only one player, so I get 3 locations. They're the Town Square, the Swallowtail Festival, and the City Gate. So here you go, City Gate, Town Square, and Swallowtail Festival. And as you can see on the right of each of those cards, it's got a deck list, so that tells you how many cards of each type are at that location. So at the City Gates, in this deck of cards, as you can see, there are 10 cards here. At that City Gate location, there are 2 monsters, there's a barrier, there are 2 weapons, there's 2 items, there's 2 allies, and none of everything else. And then at the bottom of the card, you can see there's a few different things that happen at that location. Same thing at the Town Square, so that's roughly the same kind of distribution. And Swallowtail Festival, again, roughly the same kind of distribution. So I've got these 3 locations. Now, attack on Sandpoint. The villain will be in one of these. So that's Ripnugget and Stickfoot. That's one villain, but, they're both together. So they're in either here or here or here. I don't know. Then there are 2 henchmen as well. There's Tsuto Kaijitsu and a Goblin Raider. So somewhere is Ripnugget, somewhere is Sujo, and somewhere is a Goblin Raider. But I don't know where any of them are, so I'm going to have to start exploring. I do have a time limit. These 30 cards, which are the Blessings deck, those denote time. So those will tell you how much time is passing by. And if I get to the end of that, it's too late and I have to give up. I don't die, I just have to fail the scenario and I have to reset it and do it all again. But that's fine, because I'll still have maybe got lots of cool things in the process. So that's always a lesser of 2 evils. Running out of time just means you fail the scenario, your character doesn't die and doesn't go back into the box forever. So, without further ado, I will get on with the game. So, to give you a bit of an idea as to what's been going on, I may as well read... whenever you banish a Bane with the basic trait, remove it from the game. Wow, I don't remember that. Whenever you banish a boon with the basic trait, you may remove it from the game. After you begin Sins of the Saviours... Oh, right, okay. Do the same for cards with the elite trait. God, I've never seen that. I should have been paying attention. But there you go, never mind. If I flip that over, here you go. This is the story of what's going on and why I'm here. Evil is brewing in the sleepy coastal town of Sandpoint. An attack by vicious goblins reveals the shadows of an ancient evil stirring in the distant mountains, drawing in crazed murderers, inbred ogres, and warlike stone giants, ultimately leading to an epic conflict with a mighty wizard king, the inheritor to an empire of unfathomable sin magic in his fabled mountaintop city. Okay? So, yeah, an attack by vicious goblins reveals the shadows of an ancient evil, so we've got to remember that. Burnt offerings. So, first things first. With celestial ancestry... The hell was that? With celestial ancestry, Nualia was born on the path of light, but a childhood facing the constant attention and jealousy of Sandpoint's people drove her to embrace the demon goddess Lamashtu. Bitter and vengeful, Nualia has taken refuge in the ruins of Thistletop, enlisting the aid of goblins, a band of vicious outcasts, and other mysterious allies in a plot to destroy Sandpoint. Those who would save the town must defend it from her Goblin Raiders, quell the evils unleashed in the chaos, and then take the fight to Thistletop and Nualia herself. So that's the basic gist. I have got to sort of deal with all of Nualia's mess that she's creating, sending all these goblins in and all the mess that they create, and then I have to go and approach Nualia herself. But this is only the first scenario, so I need to be getting these goblins. Wielding torches and cackling war songs, Goblin Raiders dash through the streets of Sandpoint, find the goblins' ruthless Gecko-mounted leader, Chief Ripnugget, and unmask their ally in Sandpoint before the miniature maniacs set the entire town ablaze. So really, I've been passing by and I've just found out that this is what's going on, and I'm like, oh shit, I need to help Sandpoint. There is more story behind all that, but I don't have it with me, so I can't read it. 1 second. Ah, lovely, lovely water. Okay. So, first things first then, is I get to draw my hand. So, 1, 2, and as you remember, if you've been paying attention, hand size at the top there is 5. I can increase that to 6 later on, which is quite helpful. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I've got 2 spells there and 2 blessings. Let's put them all together. Right, so this is my hand. This is what I have available to me on this turn. Essentially, this is my health. How do I die, you say? This entire lot of cards is my health, especially this one. If this ever gets down to 0 and I need to draw a card, I die. So I've got to be really careful with that. There are lots of ways of replenishing this, especially as this character. I don't think I'm ever going to get her dead because she's got so many different ways of, curing. And she's got a special power that helps herself as well. So I've picked out all these. Now, I notice I've got a holy candle, which is great, but I don't need that yet. I've got 2 spells, one of which helps me do pretty much anything. One of which helps heal me. But I don't need healing yet because I've only just started. And then I've got 2 blessings. Blessings just help you, much like aid the spell actually, but in more scenarios the blessings help you. So, I then have to draw the first card of the blessings deck. There you go. Blessing of Lamash 2. So, as I say, this is just a countdown. This is like a timer. Maybe it's every hour of the day or something during this scenario. But if it runs down, then I'm too late and I lose the game. And I start the scenario again. I lose the scenario, rather, not the game. At the start of each turn, you draw one of these, and basically it can have an effect on what's going on with your own blessings, because they can match what's up here. And if it does, that has an effect, but otherwise you can mainly just ignore these. So, I've got to work my way through and find these villains and destroy them. And there's a lot of other stuff to do in the meantime. Now, I've noticed I haven't got any weapons, and having weapons is extremely helpful. I don't know where the weapons are in there, but it is really helpful to have them. So, without much further ado, I want to go somewhere that's less likely for me to have combat, and if I do fail combat, less likely for it to be bad. So, for example, here it says, at this location, if you fail a combat check, so if I don't defeat a monster, shuffle a random monster from the box into the location deck. So that would mean if I fought a monster here and lost, I'd have to bring another monster into there and shuffle it all. So I'd basically be hamstringing myself. I'd be putting myself back in time. So I don't think I want to go there without a weapon, basically. Town Square, that's got to be safe. Right, there's 2 monsters there as well, as you can see on the deck list. I think there's 2 monsters at all of them. 2, 2, and 2, yeah. So I've got an equal chance of finding monsters. However, at this location, you may discard a card from your hand to explore during your turn. This card may not be recharged. Okay, I'll explain what all that means when we get to it, but that's less scary than having to shuffle a monster in. Here, at the start of your turn, you may shuffle any number of cards from your hand into your deck and draw 1 fewer cards than you shuffled in. So at the start of my turn, I may shuffle any number of cards from my hand into my deck and draw 1 fewer than you shuffled in. So if I didn't want that until later, which is actually a good point, I want that later on, I could go here. That's a really good idea. I'm going to go there. What do I have to do to close this location? This is how you narrow down where the villains are, by closing locations. Defeat or acquire the next card in the deck. If there isn't one, you may close this location automatically. That's fine. That's where I'm going to go first then. Oh shit, what am I doing? Steam controller. Right, first things first, I move there. In fact, let me go to configuration, go to UI, put the notes on, apply, save and exit. Here you go. This is the turn order, which might help you guys. So the first things first, as you saw, is I advanced the blessing deck. So I advanced that. So time started counting down. Second thing, this is all 1 turn. Give cards to a character at the same location. Well, I wasn't at a location to begin with, and I'm obviously not playing with anyone else, but that would have been an option. So I didn't do that. Then I choose to move to another location. So I choose to move here. That's great. It's not the start of my turn, so I don't get to shuffle any number of cards from my hand into my deck. I can't remember if you get to just start at a location and then you start doing all this, or not. I'm not sure. I don't think I will do that. I think I'll play it safe and try not cheating. But anyway, so I don't get to do that. I choose to move there. Now I can choose to explore the location by turning this card over and encountering it. Then I can choose to attempt to close it if there's, nothing left in the deck, or if I've defeated a villain or whatever. Then I reset my hand, which means drawing back up to 5, and then I pass the turn and I start again next turn. Okay? So that's the general way this goes. So I've moved there. I am actually going to start here. Let's see what I encounter. Ah, shit, it's a monster straight away. Okay. Giant Gecko. So as you can see in the top right, this is a monster. On the left, you can see it's a basic animal, so it's not too stressful, this one. However, the check to defeat is combat 8. So I need to fight this thing, okay? And I need to get at least an 8 in order to defeat it. You can see its power there. If I don't defeat it, if undefeated, I've got to shuffle this gecko into a random open location. So that's all 3 of these. All 3 of these are random open locations, and the way I do it is I'd have to take 2 blessings and shuffle that in with those 2 and then distribute them evenly over there. So that loses me time, and I don't know where the gecko's gone. But we'll get to that if we come to it. So I want to defeat it, really. If I don't defeat it, that's put me back in time, and I don't want to lose time. Although the Holy Candle will help. But anyway, doesn't matter. I'll talk about that later. So, Giant Gecko, combat 8 to defeat. Right, the way you fight is either you have spells you can use to fight. I can't use Cure because that lets me heal people or myself. Aid, that's kind of a generic spell, so I can discard this card to add a d6. That's 1 6-sided dice to a check. 1 6-sided die. So I might be using that because by default, if you don't have any weapons, by default you fight with strength. So my strength is a d6, and I get to add 1 to it because I have that skill. So I get to roll 1d6 plus 1. So if I rolled that now and got a 5, that would be 6 I'd got. But that's not 8, so I can't defeat the giant gecko. Okay? So, shit. I want to defeat this. Let's have a look at Blessing of Calistria. So blessings, as you can see, powers. Powers there. Discard this card to add 1 die to a check. So that means that I get to duplicate any dice, any 1 die that's in this check. So if I discarded this card, I have, I have the favour of the god Calistria, so I would get to add another d6 to the check. Okay? Because it's duplicating it. So that would add 1 die to a check. If this was a non-combat dexterity check, then I'd be able to add 2 dice. And indeed, at the bottom, you can see, if the top card of the blessings... Yeah, I'll get to that later. So I don't want to just discard that for now, because blessings are quite good. I do have quite a few of them, but I'm not going to discard it. At the moment, I'm not going to be able to get an 8 with this, because the highest I can roll is a 6, and it will be plus 1. So, what am I going to do about that? I'm going to use my aid spell. So discard this card to add 1 d6 to a check. There you go, there's a d6. So now I can roll 2 dice. And the average roll with 2 dice is 7. Because the average for each d6 is 3.5. So that's the most common roll that I can do, 7 there. And plus 1, that's enough to just defeat this. But I really do want to defeat this. I don't want to be sitting here fighting that over and over again. So actually what I'm going to do is I will use a blessing. And it won't be... Yeah, it will be. Yeah, it'll be... No, sorry. It'll be Blessing of the Gods. So I'm going to discard that. There you go. Discard this card to add 1 die to a check. But it does say you may instead treat this card as if it had the same powers as the top card of the Blessings discard pile. So the Blessing of the Gods is kind of like a joker. It's a wild card. So what I do now, I said I'd explain this. What I do now is I check the Blessings discard pile. That's this one. Blessing of Lamashtu. Okay? That... so I may treat this Blessing of the Gods that I'm discarding as that. So discard this card to add a die to a check. Well, that's what I would be doing anyway. But it says bury this card to add 2 dice to a check to defeat a monster. Okay, now that's what I'm doing. This is a check to defeat a monster. The only thing with burying a card is it means that if it's on my discard pile here, that would be discarding it and I'd get 1 die, okay? Add a die to a check. I have a chance of getting that back later with all my healing spells and it would go back into my deck. So I recycle my health and I make myself healthier. Burying a card means that it sort of goes off to one side. I can't use it for the rest of this scenario or the rest of this session. Okay, so that's limiting me massively. I don't think I'm going to do that because I don't want to start I don't want to start burying cards just to defeat something small. I want to be able to get that later. So I won't do that. I won't make it a wild card. Instead, I will discard this card to add 1 die to a check. So there we go. That's another d6. So now I've got 3 d6 plus 1 with my strength. Okay? Hope all that makes sense. And sorry it's taken so long to explain, but it will get quicker. Jesus, I've been playing for 26 minutes and I haven't even fought my first monster. Okay, aid. So, yes, let's do it then. This is the roll. I get to roll those. That's not bad. So, 5 plus 2 plus 2 is 9, plus the 1 that I have as my skill, that's 10. I defeat the giant gecko with all those cards. Maybe it was a bit of overkill using 3 cards to defeat a gecko, but there you go. So once a monster's defeated, unless it says otherwise at the sort of at this location thing, but it doesn't. Oh, hang on, I've got to check this. During this scenario, if you defeat a monster with the goblin trait, roll a d6. On a 1, each character at your location is dealt 1 fire damage. Okay, that's not a goblin. You can see on the left it says animal and basic, but it doesn't say goblin. So instead, that's banished. So that's banished. That's gone back to the game box. That's out of this scenario now. Banishing means getting rid of the card. And there are cards you can banish in order to do things quite powerful. Now, aid. As you saw, it said discard this card to add a d6. That's what I did. And if you don't have the divine skill, banish this card. Well, I do have the divine skill. It's down there near the bottom under wisdom, divine. Okay, so I can keep it and I discard it instead. But at the bottom it says recharge. So this is a way of, instead of getting loads of stuff into your discard pile and losing this spell for a while, it can recharge, which means going on the very bottom of this deck. So I will draw it again later, guaranteed. Now I've got to succeed at a Divine 8 check to recharge this card instead of discarding it. So in order to get it under there than on top of here, I have to roll 8 with my Divine skill. So that's a D12, 12-sided dice, plus 2. I should be able to get 8 out of that. And I'll give it a go. So here's the D12. Let's roll it. Fuck. Okay, that's 3, plus the 2 is 5. So I do have to discard it. That is a shame. But at least it frees up some space that I can draw more cards and, yeah, potentially get some weapons, which is what I need. So, there we go. I have explored the location. I can't choose to attempt to close the location. When you close a location, by the way, that means that villains can't flee there. If I found a villain here and defeated him, he would flee to any other open location. So the idea is to close as many locations down, and that's why it's good to work with other people when you've got more locations. But the idea is to close them all down, and then you defeat him, and he's got nowhere to escape to, you kill him. So, right, here we go. I've explored. I can't attempt to close the location. I reset my hand and pass the turn. So to reset my hand, that is... Well, before resetting my hand, I could discard this card, as you see at the bottom of the powers, to explore my location. But I'm not in a rush. I don't want to just get rid of blessings for no reason, so I'm not going to do that. I will instead reset my hand, which means drawing back up to 5. It's my magic half plate. That's some good armour. And find traps. Okay, well, let's put the spells together again. Now find traps. That's a spell I got in the last scenario, and I can't remember what it does. Discard this card to add 2 dice to any check to defeat a barrier. Okay, cool. Put that away. Oh god, what just happened? God. Have I screwed everything up? No, I haven't. Okay, good. Sorry, I just clicked off the screen by accident. Right, that's that go over. Finished. Yippee. I just realised I haven't read the flavour text for this, so Sandpoint's town square is crowded with people. Locals and visitors alike celebrate amid good music and food, but tiny forms slip through the shadows and begin singing an obnoxious song. So, yeah, the Geckos managed to get into the Swallowtail Festival after all of that, while all the goblins and things are causing chaos. Right, that's that first go over. Right, 30 minutes in and I've just finished the first go. Let's continue. So, advance the blessings deck. That's the first thing to be done. Blessing of the gods. Right. So, that's sort of wild card. I can't use anything as a wild card. Now, I've got 2 cards there. I still don't have a weapon, so that's a shame. But I don't think I'll cure myself yet, because what curing does, and indeed my special power, I get to sort of heal myself, is I can shuffle a random number of cards from my discard pile back into my deck, thereby healing myself, giving myself more cards, even ones that I may already have used and discarded, so that's really helpful. Like Aid, I'd like that back. So I will cure myself soon, but I'm in no rush at the moment. So, yeah, I don't want to move to another location. I want to continue exploring here. Now, as you can see, I've had 1 monster, so there's 1 monster, 1 barrier, 1 weapon, 1 item, 1 ally, 2 allies, sorry, and 2 blessings. So we should have some nice stuff. Oh, and a henchman or villain. So what's this? Pit of Malfeshnakor. Powers, right? So this is a barrier. Often they're traps. So there you go. That's what traps gets to do. But I don't need to defeat it. As you can see on the right there, check to defeat none. So I don't actually need to defeat this. I just have to do what it says. So I draw 3 items from the box. So it's from the item pile here. 3 items from the box. You may choose one and add it to your hand, but banish any that you haven't chosen. If you added one to your hand, each character at this location is dealt 1d4 plus 1 fire damage, and then this goes. So basically it's a trade-off. I can choose an item. Well, I may as well do that first. Shuffle it, and then it's the 3 off the top. Go. Right, so there's 1, 2, 3. So, at the Pit of Malfeshnakor, you can see it there. At the Pit of Malfeshnakor, I find these 3 items. There they are. So, I've got a spyglass, which helps me with perception checks when I'm rolling dice for perception. And I can also discard it to examine the top 2 cards of my location deck, which would be, this. So it's a way of looking forward into the future and seeing what you're going to be coming up with. Holy Water. Discard this card to evade a bane, that's any bad thing, with the undead trait, or banish this card to defeat a bane with the undead trait whose highest combat is 10 or lower. Not bothered about that. I've got ways of defeating undead, so I don't care about that. Potion of Fortitude. Banish this card and choose a character at your location to succeed at a Fortitude check. Right, Fortitude, but that's banishing the card, so that's only good for 1 use. Fortitude, I have a d6 plus 3. It's under Constitution there. So I've got fairly decent Fortitude. And the thing is, if I do choose one of these, that means I get dealt some fire damage because, I've reached into a pit or something and burnt my hand taking the item. And it's 1d4 plus 1. So I'd roll a d4 here, which is either going to be 1, 2, 3, or 4. There, it's a 2. Plus 1. So there, if I'd rolled that would be 3 damage. And that means I discard 3 cards. I do have Half Plate, which recharge this card, so that's put it back on the bottom of there, to reduce combat damage dealt to you by 3. This isn't actually combat damage because I'm not in combat, so armor won't help here, and I don't want to take at least 2 damage. So I'm actually not going to... None of those are worth it as far as I'm concerned. Let's group those and plop them back down on here. So, bit boring, but I'm not going to take anything from the Pit of Malfeshnakor. I love that name. So, yeah. I couldn't do this because I'm not doing a check to defeat a barrier, so I couldn't have done, I couldn't have rolled more dice or anything. The barrier was already defeated, essentially. Okay, so that's it. Ah, shit. I didn't do the at this location at the start of your turn. I wanted to do that. Never mind, I'll do it next turn. But yeah, so that's that go over. I went to the Pit of Malfeshnakor, didn't get anything sorted. So I can attempt to close the location. I can't reset my hand. I've already got all 5. I can choose just to discard cards that I don't want, but I don't want to discard anything at the moment. Because instead I'm able to shuffle cards back into the deck at this location. So I'll do that. Right then. So, next go. Whoops. Blessing of Desna. Discard this card. So the second power is always the one you're looking at if you're going to use it as a wild card. Discard this card to add 2 dice to a check to recharge a card. Okay. So there, as you see at the bottom of that, like I did with that age spell. In fact, I'll show you that one. I was trying to recharge it instead of discarding it. I didn't succeed. But if I'd used a blessing, if I'd used that blessing on it, I'd have got to roll 3 12-sided dice instead, so making it much more likely. Hope that makes sense. Right, now, it's the start of my turn. I may shuffle any number of cards from my hand into my deck and draw 1 fewer card than I shuffled in. Well, technically it's not the start of my turn because I just turned that over, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. So, I don't want that until later. I've just had the trap here, and there's only 1 barrier, so I don't need find traps. I will probably get another blessing back at some point. I really want to maximise my chance of finding weapons. I don't need to cure yet. There you go. I will turn all 4 of those over. Hang on. There you go. So I get to shuffle all of those back into my deck like that. Shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. And then draw 1 fewer card than I put in. So I get to draw 3 cards because I put 4 in. Ah, there's the bloody Blessing of Calistria back. Wooden shield. Don't care. Come on, be a weapon. Ah, bugger. Okay, well, never mind. I can do it again next turn. There you go. That was the start of that. Now, I'm not going to move. I'm going to stay there. And I explore the location. Bosh. Ah, it's the other monster. Cultist. Right, so. Human Cultist. If undefeated, shuffle the top card of the Blessings deck into this location deck. So that essentially means I lose a turn. That would go into here. He'd stay in here as well if I didn't defeat him. So I'd lose a lot of time doing that. So I want to defeat him. Check to defeat 9. Okay. How am I going to be able to do this? Oh, God, with a bit of difficulty, actually. I think I'm just going to have to go for it. I can't evade him because there's no option to evade on this thing. Is he undead? He's not undead, so that won't help me. For undead things, I get to add a d8 to my check to defeat something that has the undead trait, and it makes my attack magic as well, which sometimes you need. But he's not undead, so I can't do that. Right, well, first things first, strength, d6. That's what I'm going to have to roll. Now, I can't get 9 with a d6, plus 1. That's only 7, the maximum I can get, so I'm going to have to discard a blessing. Let's get rid of the blessing of the dogs again. There you go. If you encounter this... right, discard this card to add 1 die to a check, so I get another d6 at least. So it's going to be those 2 plus 1. I can't use another blessing. You can only use 1 of each type of card on any 1 check. So this is 1 check to defeat this thing in combat. I can only use 1 blessing for that, so I can't keep adding dice willy-nilly. If he does any damage to me, that's if I don't get 9, and I get 8, for example, I'd take whatever the difference is in damage. So I'd take 1 damage. If I rolled 5 only, I'd take 4 damage, so on and so forth. And these things let me reduce my damage taken, because this is during combat. So I feel safe that I'm not going to get hurt by him, but I do really want to beat him. So let's roll. Whoa! Shit. Okay, 4, 5, plus 1 is 6. So I would take 3 damage. That is unbelievable. Recharge this card to reduce combat damage dealt to you by 2. Magic half plate. Recharge this card to reduce combat damage dealt to you by 3. Okay, I'm going to do that. Whoops, I just flipped those as well. So I'm going to do that. Reduce damage dealt to me by 3. That goes recharged under there. So it's going to be available for me again. That's nice. But I haven't defeated him. So if undefeated, shuffle the top card of the Blessings deck into this location deck. So there you go. That goes on top of there. As does he. I have to face him again. And then shuffle. So that's a shame. That's a real shame. And I've lost more cards. However, I will get to draw more cards and hopefully get one of those sodding weapons. So, finished exploring. Now I reset my hand. Cure. Brilliant. Father Xantus. And come on, weapon. Ah, Blessing of the Gods. Damn it. I've got 2 weapons in there and neither of them's come up yet. Okay, whatever. What does Father Xantus do? Recharge this card to add a d4 to your divine check. He's an ally. Or bury this card to recharge 1d4 random cards from your discard pile. So that's another way of healing myself. Okay, so that's a shame again. It's almost as if I haven't done anything and I'm 4 turns in. But there you go. That's the way this game goes. I had some seriously good luck last time I played, so yeah. Right, pass the turn. Right, new go. At the start of your turn, you may shuffle any number of cards from your hand into your deck and draw 1 fewer card than you shuffled in. So, again, I'll shuffle that and that, because I don't want either of them, and I don't want that either. I'm sure to draw another blessing, because I have that as a favoured card type, and I've got 6. How many have I used in here, though? 2. So I've got 4 blessings that could come up once these are back in. So let's shuffle all those in and draw 3 new ones. I'm desperate to get one of these weapons, you know. Oh, cure. Come on, mace! Fantastic. 1, 2, 3. Blessing of the gods. Right, mace. There you go. So for my combat check, I can roll my strength or melee die. So now I don't have to just fight with strength. I can use melee, which is the d6 plus 2 plus that 1 from strength. So I get to roll it plus 3. So that's already great. Plus an extra d8. So I get to roll a d6, a d8, and add 3 to it. So that makes me a lot stronger. I'm very happy about that. Right, finally. Oh my god, it's a Goblin Raider. Let's drop this a sec. How do I drop it? That's that button. Smash!